How's it going?
I love this cooler morning that we have after a very, very hot summer. So it feels good and it adds a little spring in the step.
There you go. All right, let's jump into this. Um, Here we go. All right. So, I'm on the wrong window. No. Here we go. Fulton County. All right. So, a little bit of drop off on actives after the holiday. One of the questions, Kelly, I've got is, are we experiencing seasonality, or is it temporary because of the holiday? What do you think?
I think there it is seasonality. However, there tends to be another little push, maybe starting a week or two after the Labor Day weekend. So these 2 weeks, if it was a little quiet, that's probably normal.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, under contracts a little bit softer, right? Like we were in the 120s, 130s. We had 112 and 77 over the last 7 days. Pendings, we had 251 going into the end of the month, and then 51. So we closed out a lot of the contracts. There were 169 7 days ago and 51 over the last 7 days. But remember, that's only 4 out of 5 business days, right? So
correct.
I'm not overly concerned about the numbers, but there certainly was a low week this week, right? If you look at DeKalb, same kind of story, like it tapered down on active inventory. We certainly came down on properties going under contract over the last 7 days. Yet pendings are quite low going into the start of September, but we had okay closings. This doesn't bother me because of the holiday weekend, but the end of the month number did bother me a little bit because we had 200 the week before, so maybe everybody was trying to close before the holiday. But I mean, the reality is the calendar affects real estate numbers like more than anything else, right?
Correct.
And holidays and certainly seasonality and all that fun stuff, right?
Well, and the rule of thumb, if you're an experienced agent and if you're newer, take this is like don't close the day before a holiday weekend. There is no margin for error. So if something gets delayed, you're now pushed into the next month and need extra days. So it doesn't surprise me that week was heavy on closings because my advice is not to close the day before a holiday weekend. Out of built a margin in there. So
Interesting. All right. Well, we'll keep looking. Cobb County, same story, kind of tapered off over the last 2 weeks. Uh, the active inventory was good a week ago, or active under contract was good a week ago, and then half over the last 7 days. But I mean, I think most people take that last weekend trip, that last get out of town, all that stuff. Pendings are lower. Yet closings 130 was pretty low for the end of the month, but they had a big week before, like DeKalb. But 39 in the last 7 days coming out of the holiday, it kind of sucks to be honest. But I mean, it's to be understood, right?
correct.
All right, big news. The mortgage rates plummeted to a new low for 2025, and quite honestly, new low for almost a couple of years now. We are no longer wondering if the Fed's going to cut the prime rate. We're expecting them to cut the prime rate, and they're actually expecting a pretty big rate cut coming. So I see this as good. It certainly means that unemployment is on the rise. And I always say, like, look, if somebody personally lost their job, that's not a positive. Yet the anemic job reports is benefiting our industry a little bit. And it's putting that pressure down on mortgage rates so much that look at these rates. Now let's put this into perspective. The the smart people of the world, the economists, we're saying we would be lucky to get to 6.5 by the end of the year. And we're sitting here almost at 6.25. So it's such a hard thing to predict, right? Yet these are great rates. Do I think they're going to keep coming down? If I had my crystal ball, I would say yes, but it could go back to 6.5 in a week. It's just that volatile right now. But I mean, I'm looking at that jumbo. I highlighted it. 6.25 on a jumbo loan right now is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 5.5 on a 15-year fix is phenomenal. The big question is, will this spur buyer demand? What do you think? Hey, Rick.
Is Rick, is he chatting? Is he muted?
He's talking, but your lips are moving, but we can't hear you.
All right, we'll go forward. So I would.
Buyer demand?
Can we hear Rick?
I can hear you.
Okay. So I actually feel like what it will do is it'll allow, I think it will spur a little bit of a demand. I think it will allow people who it was just slightly unaffordable for them to get the quality of home that they were hoping for. And so it encourages them to go ahead and move forward. And I like that if the incentive is to start lowering rates, which hopefully will affect the mortgage rates, so much of the real estate industry touches so many other job industries. So I can see that keeping us healthy will continue to keep job market healthy. And so I do think it will certainly help us. And I do think it could give us a tiny bit of demand, maybe not a huge surge, but at least a tiny one.
I think it's going to be a little bit of an insurance policy between now and the end of the year, probably. Meaning, if the rates went the opposite direction, we could have looked at a very depressed fourth quarter. And I was nervous about that earlier in the year, that fourth quarter was a 50-50 shot at how it was going to turn out. And this gives me encouragement that fourth quarter is actually going to stay pretty strong. Thanks.
I agree. And we can all, we could obviously all use a good fourth quarter. And I think it's just could be enough little booster shot just to add some momentum going into the end of the year and into the beginning of next year.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Let's hit this article. And I'm going to really give my thoughts on this. So it says the American homeownership dream is primed for a comeback. And if you've ever heard me teach, I always talk about the psychology behind our profession. So you've got what they call the 3 big moments in people's lives, or when they get married, they have a child and buy their first house. So you're either a clergy something, an OBGYN something, or a real estate professional. Those are the 3 professions that help people navigate the 3 big moments in their life, right? And, we've watched the average age of the first-time home buyer go from what it was historically like 28, surged all the way up to 38. And I would just go out on a limb and say there is a decade worth of wealth or people that just got priced out of buying their first house, whether it was not socioeconomic, whether it was a social thing, meaning certain generations waited later in life, or it was an economic thing where affordability became an issue. It's probably a little of all that, right? But if you read through this article, it talks about down here that while these findings align with current market conditions, there's a notable generational divide. Only 13% of baby boomers and 11% of Gen Xers said homeownership is more attainable. But in contrast, 23% of millennials and 24% of Gen Zers said it is more attainable. And I think what's going to happen, I believe in the next 3 to 5 years, is that millennial generation and that Gen Z generation is going to be highly motivated to start buying real estate. You know, call it what it is. They got priced out. They got the hyperinflated real estate market, having to put $50,000 in addition to down payment just to get into a house, took a lot of people out of the market. And we can hear you now, Rick. The and it's going to be our job to get them into houses. And I keep talking about, like, if I'm honest, my first house was a dog. Like, it was not that pretty of a house. It was a fixer upper, but I got into the game. And I know Rick's got younger sons, and some of his sons' friends, you know, they'll buy a house and have a roommate help pay for the mortgage, kind of thing, like house hacking. And we've talked about that on this call. Yet, I think it's an opportunity for our agents, Kelly, to get very strategic at how do we get these people into houses, and what is the messaging we're putting out? How are we attracting these people to us? A lot of them are kids of people that are already in our sphere of influence, but I think we need to be very strategic about getting into relationship with these Gen Z and millennial people to get them into real estate. What do you think?
I absolutely agree with that. I can see, like, boomers and maybe the older Gen Xers, they're probably moving closer to fixed income years. So therefore, if it is unaffordable, it may be challenging for them. But this younger group, I love the optimism, and they're seeing the value of home ownership. I think, as I read into that article, they want also they're getting a more realistic perspective on what type of house that they may be able to afford, and therefore the idea is settling in them that they're willing to pull a trigger on, like you pulled a trigger on a fixer upper, I pulled a trigger on a fixer upper on my first home, and I think that's a good mindset, that they're have a expectation as a first home that it's not your forever home, the dream home of your life. And what I think, to your point, Brett, we probably need to continue to communicate this message to these millennials and Gen Zers. I think we continue to give them the optimism that they want and the hope, and show them the pathway. If we market to them, there is lots of potential for us to obtain these people as clients.
Yeah, I mean, here's the truth. If I was selling real estate today, I'd probably go on social media and talk about my first home and say, look, I realize a lot of people have been priced out of the market, yet the amount of wealth being left on the table is astronomical. Tell me the story of your first home. Mine was a dog. I had to remodel the whole thing myself. And I made a lot of money on it when I sold it years later, but I was living in construction first year, right? And yet I got into the game. What's your story? Or something along those lines, right?
I think that's a brilliant. I mean, that should be our social media hack for this week. I think that's brilliant.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Rick. Love it.
Hot diggity.
You know.
So just like real estate markets are hyper local, I think the conversations you have with your potential clients is hyper personal. And so there could be a myriad of reasons why someone would help their son or daughter invest in real estate, or that millennials step up and actually invest and make it on their own. And I think it's just a hyper personal question of, you know, how do I put more people in my pipeline, regardless of the timeline, so that I can nurture that relationship and be, you just need clarity around, either is it a pain point, an opportunity point, or, you know, at what point in your future would you like to be a real estate investor and start building wealth? I want to be here for you when that day comes. And here are some examples where people have been where you are, and 3 years from now, here's where they are, or 2 years. And so back to Brett and both your points, that it's got to be in buried inside of a story that resonates and moves people.
Yeah. But I think, you know, I mean, I think there were articles at one point in time, guys, that said the American dream is dead. And I don't believe it's dead. I believe it just got paused through weird circumstances. And I believe it's going to make a giant comeback in the near future. And we need to capitalize on that as an industry. All right. This one is fun. All right. So there's a company called Spotify. Anybody ever heard of it? It's what I play all our music with. Well, Spotify at one point in time was losing market share. And they, if you've ever played music with Spotify, usually around the end of the year, they send you a wrapped feature that says, here's all the artists you listened to in the last year. Here's the songs you listened to. And it gives you like a year-end summary report of the music you listen to. Ironically, the songs I play for Mojo Monday usually land on the top of my Wrapped feature because we play it every week, right? But they made it fresh, sexy, and interesting. Well, what this article is talking about is it's saying CMAs are not fresh, sexy, and interesting to homeowners these days. And you can debate it, but regardless, I think most people understand they can go on Zillow and get his estimate. They can find an AVM model. And they're suggesting you take a page out of Spotify's playbook and do a wrapped feature or a neighborhood sales review feature to your SOI. And, I think it was 2 years ago, we were talking about, well, everybody should do an equity analysis and send it to their top 100 in their database or their top 250 in their database. And now I'm wondering if this year's marketing play is to do a neighborhood sales review sent to your top 100 in your database or your top 250 in your database. Make it fresh, make it sexy, make it cool. And it's not something that they request. It's something that gets pushed to them. And I kind of like it. I mean, it talks about why this works. Neighborhood sales review do three things CMAs cannot: provide concrete proof of activity, builds trust through transparency, and delivers a pattern interrupt. Everyone sends CMAs. Few agents send neighborhood recaps. When you do, it stands out immediately, right? And I think there's some teeth to this. What do you think?
This is my favorite article of all of our articles for precisely your point. This should be on everybody's fourth quarter marketing plan to send out before the end of the year, or certainly by the beginning of next year. I think what makes this sexy is, and you got to do it in a nice looking thing. You can't just have a quick CMA from FMLS where it's line by line. Make it look presentable because. But what I think it is first of all, we can't believe CMAs right now. Values have adjusted. And none of us are predicting as accurately as probably once did. But I think it could show, I think people are looking for authenticity. And by showing past sales or the sales of this year's, I think that shows an authenticity and that you are actually, and it shows, to Rick's point, something personal. You're actually watching their neighborhood and it's a personal attention that you have to them. I think this is a brilliant idea and should be on everyone's plan.
I mean, it should illustrate your expertise. It's an item of value which tips the scales of reciprocity. People feel compelled to give back or at least illustrate gratitude. And then the last piece is that if you play it right and you preempt it with something compelling, it'll start a conversation. And that's what we need more, just more conversations that are quality.
And, I think, Spotify does it like at the end of the year, right? It's usually the week between Christmas and New Year's. I actually think it would be strategic to do this October 1. And I think, one, you need to be in relationship and dialogue with people in fourth quarter, even if they're not planning on doing anything till spring 2026. But you're still going to pick up business for fourth quarter. but you don't want to be late to the game. When the year starts, people have already started to make their plans for next year. I think to me, October 1 would be the time to do this. Just my 2 cents. All right, next article says the 25-year housing surge and why the boom is just beginning. So this article is fascinating in a couple reasons. One, it does speak to what we were just talking about of the generations that are going to move fast into first-time home buying, the millennials and Gen Zs. But it also speaks to this $84 trillion wealth transfer. And the baby boomer generation is sitting on immense wealth right now. And they're gonna die, guys. I hate to call it that. That's what they're gonna pass away.
This is supposed to be an uplifting conversation.
That wealth is going to transfer to their heirs. And a lot of that wealth is going to make it into the real estate industry. And, you realize if you've studied the generations, the baby boomer generation is a huge generation that's aging. And, we've talked on here before about Nepo buyers. 40 or 50% of first-time home buyers are getting some kind of assistance from family, parents, grandparents, family members, not all, and some are more blessed than others is probably a fair way to say it, but there's a lot of wealth that's going to change hands in the next 25 years, and it's really going to create a boom in the economy. And probably inappropriately, because I know most people, once they inherit money, aren't always responsible with that inheritance. Yet I guarantee you a lot of it's going to make it into the real estate industry. What do you think?
It's got to go somewhere.
So,
yeah. And I think if you can pave the way to the best possible scenario of diversifying that transfer of wealth using real estate as a tool, and I think if you're an advocate for that and live that life, Brett, the storyline gets real easy and more compelling. So I'm speaking directly to realtors listening. If you're not buying investment properties or expanding your reach into real estate, it's hard to, with compelling, I guess, sincerity or authenticity, promote that as the best path.
Yeah. One of the things Gary taught us for years is messaging matters. And I think when you're a real estate professional and you're doing marketing, you're doing social media, you're putting the signal out there, the message you're sending needs to be strategic. And I think really what we're trying to get at in a lot of these articles, and what I'm hearing you say, Rick, is what's the message you're putting out there, right?
Yeah. And how supported is that in the evidence chain? But if this does play out the way it says, I mean, it's a very exciting reality that's coming down the pipeline. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah. This is interesting. So JP Morgan Chase has 175,000 square feet in this JP Morgan building in Buckhead. And they're wanting to move their office. And they're going to move their office over the next 2 years. And I find this fascinating on the commercial front. And one of the things that they talk about in here is a company seeking much office space, roughly the same size as Walmart Supercenter, in a rarity era of hybrid work. And they really talk about how Chase as a company is known for its in-office culture. And what I think is happening in business, and I know it's not popular with everybody, yet the in-office culture that we had pre-pandemic translated to money in people's pockets. It translated to productivity. It translated to, a work-life balance. It translated to discipline. And I think the world of business is waking up to the fact that, hey, office environment matters. Your environment, a productivity-based environment, who you surround yourself with matters. And I just hope real estate agents start to wake up a little bit to this thought process, because I think if you're honest with yourself and ask yourself the tough questions, does my environment best suited for my best version of myself? Only you know the answer to that. And obviously we have an independent contractor relationship with our agents, so everybody makes their own decision. But it's not going to slip by me to have the opportunity to say, we know that highly productive agents thrive in a productive based environment. And you should hear that message. Does that make sense? Any other thoughts?
Brett, I couldn't agree more. The value I've had when I was just a full-time real estate agent, I always had an office inside the office. I cannot give you the countless conversations I would have had that spurred an idea, that told me of an unlisted property that I need to be aware of, that actually encouraged me when maybe I had a day that was not going so well, or vice versa, I encouraged someone else. It also kept me disciplined because I could keep business hours. Because if I didn't have a client appointment in the evening, I went home at 6 and I had a few hours off and treated it where I could have some downtime, rest time, and enjoy personal time, and then get back to work. And I think that structure is so important. And I will say, fortunately, and we're going to get it back again when we move into our new renovation, Buckhead has always had a great in-office culture. And I look forward to, with our new renovation, even more of that, because I saw those who came in. It doesn't mean they were there 8 hours a day. They were there a few hours a day. They were so productive, and they are still productive. And so I think there's something to be said with rubbing elbows with peers who are pursuing the same end goal, which is building great businesses, serving their clients at a high level, sharing, because we're a collaborative culture, sharing and caring for one another. When you rub elbows with the like kind, it rubs off on you. You can't help but pick up on that energy and take that into your day and take that into your business. So I'm 1,000% in agreement. In-house culture is being in the office is so key. And we have about a month left, and we get to do that again. So,
all right,
Brett.
Well,
and Mark had a good point. Mark had a point. I saw his hand.
One of the things I've learned from Rick Hale, one of the many things I've learned from Rick Hale, is that sometimes you have to put yourself in the way for good things to happen. And I can't tell you how much business I have witnessed over the years that has happened because people were having sidebar conversations in the hallway before a team meeting and after a team meeting.
So I appreciate that, guys. I think somebody might think we're on here preaching, but I think it's just wisdom and it's a testimonial of what great business looks like. And I just hope everybody hears it. Here's the message clearly. All right, on Circle, we posted industry update, and you will notice on here we post social media scripts, and on social media scripts every week we have 3 reels and 1 email template that all the heavy lifting's done for you. You just got to go do it. You can read the social media script, or you can be cool like me in my sunglasses. And this is actually AI, guys.
CMAs are boring. Want to stand out? Instead of the typical comparable market analysis, send a Spotify-style neighborhood sales review. Show actual completed sales in the area. Real proof, real movement. It builds credibility faster than any guesswork ever could. DM me if you want a plug-and-play template to create this for your area.
So the reason I show you this is all we did is cut and paste the script into the AI bot, and it created the video. So you literally could just cut and paste these scripts into an AI and have the video created on your behalf. Now, you're going to ask me what programs did that. So I'll put them in the chat. It's the first one is heygen.com, and the second one is 11labs.com. in 11 labs trains the audio, and HeyGen creates the AI bot. And what I don't expect you to go turn all your social media into AI, but I think if you were to do an AI video once a week that was stats related, or something that created a system, it's pretty powerful. So, of course, Matt, you want to ask where I got those sunglasses. AI put them on me. But anyway, I think the world's moving this way. I'm seeing a lot of top agents using AI in the social media space, and those two websites create it for you. And we're going to bring a training class to the table, because a lot of the top agents are moving in this direction, guys. But I was wondering what programs to use for the neighborhood sales review. What do y'all think? What would you use for neighborhood sales review, Kelly?
What would I to send out?
Yeah, if you're going to do the Spotify neighborhood sales review, what would you use?
You know, quite honestly, I would actually make it a. I would do two things. You could do, and you could quite honestly do both. You could do something in print. I think print is still valuable as long as it makes it look pretty. We have the new collaboration with Canva, so we could utilize that with our KW tools. And then a lot of people do these Loom videos or other kind of videos, and you could do a short one, let them know that they have something coming in the mail. Or after they got it in the mail, you could do something, send out a video letting them know, hey, I want to let you know. And I think I think it should be a combo. People like to read data, so put it in a print format, and then perhaps also do it in a video format, because that's where they're going to actually take time to watch and listen and hear your voice.
There you go. Stephen, you had a question. Stephen Schul.
RPR. He put it in the chat. So that's where you can get your data.
Okay, using the RPR and maybe we should do a training class. Maybe you should take this to your team meeting and have a conversation and strategize around it. That would be a great thing to do. Stephen, what was your question? You're muted. You raised your hand. Now you got a question.
I will add one thing while we're waiting. People appreciate authenticity, and that video you shot with AI could easily have been shot with your iPhone with a small script card in front of you. So I think perfection is actually magic because it's so sincere. So don't get hung up on the technology, get hung up on the message you want to deliver and make it very personal. That's what I heard Kelly say.
100%. Not everybody's going to use AI. And I don't think you should do 100% AI. I think you could streamline some AI. And I almost see stats or some kind of market update could be an easy AI system for you, and then do more personal videos of touring houses and things like that. But it's certainly becoming a thing. Stephen, what was your question?
No, I was just going to say NRP. Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was a lot. That was a lot. Okay. In RPR, there's actually a neighborhood tab. So I started the process of doing like an annual review very similar to this, but it was more for this. It was a sexied up CMA basically. But I do love this neighborhood idea, and I'll probably turn it around just for a one slick pager, so it's less of my time. But RPR, I went to RPR to get the neighborhood section of my annual property review, and it's great. It already has it. You can click it, you can copy it, you can immediately upload it into another document. So it's really easy, and you can change the words if you want it just a little bit, or throw it in a ChatGPT and make it sexier or more lively or sound like you. So it really is a great tool, RPR is.
I love it. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Happy Monday, guys.
See you guys.